let's go back to this. You go down to your brush tool, which is this button right here. Click that, go to the bottom, brush tool. If you press command, it will use whatever is this. So I press command on that, it's now an erase tool. If I press command on that, it's the same thing as the other one. Before it was the pencil, where you can draw stuff in, and then if you click and drag, it'll stretch the whatever note you're putting in. I'm not going to do all that, but we're going to use a brush tool to get some hi-hats. So this right here is important. This is your quantizer. So your time quantizing is going to be your time that you're using to to quantize your music. Quantizing would be like it places it on the grid on this line, every single time. It's not going to allow much give, which, if you're hitting a note in, it could be like there, which if you zoom in on it, it's off the grid a little bit. So you're going to need, if you want it to be real tight, you want it to be on grid all the time. For this, we're going to use 1/8 notes. So if I play that, it's going to have that kind of bounce to it. It's really not a difficult thing. I would come up here too and click either this button, or you can go in and manually click this, or you can click and drag whatever section you want. So if you've got 8 bars, you can stretch it all the way out. Remember, they're full bars too, so it's going to stop before 5. It's going to be 4 full bars. Another cool thing to do that I do a lot, if you notice that when I press the space bar, it will bring me back to the beginning every time, even without this on. Just kind of nice, because basically what you're doing is you're setting this marker to wherever you're at, and then every time I press play, it starts from that point. So if I move to here, it plays from there. And the way to do that is you go over here, you right click on this, and you go play from last locate position, and that will put you wherever you put this locate position, instead of it just continuing on from wherever it stopped at, which really isn't that beneficial when you're doing things like, looping sections and stuff. You want it to continuously go back to that point. So what we're going to do is put in these hi-hats in 1/8 sections. If you mess up and you go like here, all you literally have to do is go back to that point and drag it back down. Or if you want to like accidentally do that, you can right click. If you shift click or a command click over it, it'll bring up an erase tool. But we're going to do that just so that it's consistent. This is a very common thing nowadays where people do this consistent pattern. I bet you can name 100 songs that sound like that. So something like that is real simple. Little things that you can do. You could add like a little clap on this second beat. It's like it's your upbeat. So down, up, down, up. This is your upbeat. You're having other possibilities too, like cowbell or something. You could put something like that there, like your 1/4. So if we loop that, something like that, it's super simple. Another thing that a lot of people do is they'll put an open hi-hat on top of their kick. Some cool. I like to do it on every other bar, and I like to do it in different areas of the song. So I won't do it in the verse all the time. I'll do it like in the hook section or something, So I'll show you how to do all that in a second. One thing that you can do too, this is a really good tip is if you press Command R, it will duplicate whatever highlighted section you have and put it behind it. And so one thing that's important is to make sure, like, you zoom all the way in or you zoom in here, you got to make sure that, like, this is, if you are duplicating it that way, you need to make sure that you are on, like, this ends on, like, right at 5111 or something. Because if it doesn't, you're going to actually duplicate it maybe at, like, here. And if you do it there, not only is there going to be space, it's going to cause kind of like this off tempo. It's going to be offbeat. It's going to sound like shit. So it's really important to have that lined up perfectly. Another thing that you can do is, so say I'm like wanting to be exactly right here, you can press the semicolon button, which is like, enter the parentheses, semicolon, just in case you don't know. There, you can press semicolon, and then it'll move wherever your playhead is at. It'll put it right there. So if it's at, you want to start it here, you can do that. So another cool thing that you can do is you can press Option, click, drag, and it'll duplicate it. It'll make a copy of it that you can move around. And so if you have like something here and you want to like move it, have like this and highlight a couple of them and you want to move them over here and just have like different sections or something, you could do something like that. So if we're saying that we want to use this open hi-hat only in the hook part of the song, you want to just like select where you want the hooks to be. So like we'll say this section, and then we'll skip 8 bars, and then we'll have this section be another hook, and then this section be another hook. You can quickly do something like that. And then, so say I want to make this part a verse, I can either click this, right click and do like new one, or an easier way to do that is you click this and you click Command D, and it will duplicate this track to the next one. And then then you can change the parameters. So like if I want this one to sound really full because it's the hook and you want it to sound the best and you want, that to be the best part of the song, you might keep all that stuff on. If you want this part in the verse to kind of have a little bit less and be a little bit, quieter or something, I might like go in and like EQ out some of the highs to make it sound like a little different so that people can signify that it's a different section of the song. Another thing people do is they'll add like a transition, which is something to look into. I'll probably do a video on that at some point just to show you. So if you listen to this compared to this section, it's a little bit brighter here because I went into this track's EQ, and then if I go back to the way it was, this is what it looked like before. I clicked and dragged this over to subtract out some of this high-end sound. So like kind of sounds a little bit flatter, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It actually kind of tells you that you're no longer in this section of the song. It's really cool too if you want to like maybe drop an octave in the melody or something, you could do that. But I'm gonna, duplicate that one and then fill out this section. I might do it in like the intro or outro too, just so that you don't want to like always come into a song with full intensity. Sometimes you want to kind of like start with a little intensity and then add to it. And then that's what a lot of guys do. They might even have just like a melody playing in the beginning, and then they'll add in everything after that. But something like this to start out a song. And then we'll take out these hi-hats too. So you select that and then delete those. Make it a little bit more flat, not as much going on. Sometimes people will take the kick out of the intro so that it's not going to even have like any bump to it at all. That's a thing that some people do. when you add the melody next, you're going to actually be able to hear this make a little bit more sense too.